Donald Trump without that, because most Republicans in every poll still like Donald Trump. And no one has found a better issue than electability to try to take people away from him who still like him. And it hasn't worked yet, but I haven't talked to a Republican who thinks they have some other magic bullet that will work better.
That understanding, that reality, does make you realize that even if Ron DeSantis had so far run a flawless, superb, upheaval-free candidacy, he might be in exactly the same position that he's in right now.
I mean, Ron DeSantis hasn't solved a problem that no Republican has solved since Donald Trump emerged on the national stage in 2015, which is how to beat Donald Trump, right? And in that way, Ron DeSantis is just the latest in a long line of candidates who haven't yet figured out a formula to pull away the party's base from the president, who they still love.
Well, Shane, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Daily is supported by Angie. Angie is dedicated to helping homeowners find skilled pros to get their home projects done well, from everyday repairs to dream remodels. Reviews, pricing, and booking are at Angie.com or on the Angie app. Innovative, immersive, and skillfully investigated, The Daily brings listeners today's stories as only the New York Times can report them. For more on today's episode, go to nytimes.com/The Daily.
The Daily is powered by the journalism of the New York Times and is distributed by APM, American Public Media. You can go deeper into the stories you hear on The Daily at nytimes.com/The Daily. That's it for The Daily. I'm Michael Bobardo. See you tomorrow.
Here at NPR, independence means journalism that's never influenced by politics, power, or popularity. Listen to Morning Edition for reporting for you every weekday from NPR News.
You can hear Morning Edition beginning weekdays at 5 a.m. on Radio IQ.
Radio IQ is broadcasting in digital on WVTF Roanoke, WRIQ Charles City Richmond, WURV Richmond, WVTU Charlottesville, WVTW Charlottesville, WVTR Marion, WISC FM Wise, WQIQ Spotsylvania, WIQR Lexington, WEHC Emory, and in Richmond on 92.5 and Fredericksburg on 94.9. Radio IQ, a service of Virginia Tech.
It's about 3 a.m. I'm sitting in a strip mall parking lot.
80% of people will die without ever seeing the Milky Way.
Kind of hard to ever get a glimpse of stars.
We have two different things that tell us the time.
And the stars are amazing.
We have the temperature and we have the light.
They start on one side of me and they go to the other. It's like I'm not under them. It's like I'm in them.
If we turn off the night, living in a city, perhaps you never even use your night vision at all.
When the bright lights from the local boats scatter across the horizon in the wee hours of the morning.
I'm Meghna Chakrabarti.
Most people really also like darkness.
Today on Point,
and lots of stars.
In defense of darkness.
And the air is really still.
When they start to think about it, they have just lost that.
Stay with us.
It's a great night to be out.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Speer. Efforts have turned to recovery in Southern California as communities deal with the aftermath of flash flooding and mudslides brought on by Tropical Storm Hillary. Member station KVCR Madison Ament reports.
The resort town of Palm Springs and surrounding desert cities east of Los Angeles receives some 3 inches of rain. The area typically sees roughly 5 inches a year. Shane Reichart is a spokesman for Riverside County that includes Palm Springs. He says now that the sun is out, the county is assessing the damage.
We're such a large county with 7,300 square miles that there's a lot of area to check.
He says flooding is still blocking roads in Palm Springs, and the storm knocked out the 911 emergency call system there on Sunday night. Emergency officials also have their eye on debris flows in areas where wildfires burned recently. For NPR News, I'm Madison Ahmet in San Bernardino.
Indiana's near total abortion ban is finally in effect after weeks of legal uncertainty. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Brandon Smith reports the Indiana Supreme Court denied abortion providers last-ditch effort to halt the ban.
The law bans abortions except for in limited cases, when the life or serious health of the pregnant person is at risk, when there's a lethal fetal anomaly but only up to 20 weeks, or in cases of rape or incest but only up to 10 weeks. The state Supreme Court ruled nearly 2 months ago that the ban does not violate the state constitution's guarantee of liberty, but the ACLU, on behalf of abortion clinics, tried to get the justices to reconsider. The state Supreme Court has now declined that request. The ban had been practically in effect since August 1st, since abortion clinics had stopped providing abortion care and hospitals were following the ban's limited exceptions. For NPR News, I'm Brandon Smith in Indianapolis.
Collective bargaining agreement between Atlanta-based UPS and the union could be ratified soon. As Marlon Hyde from member station WABE in Atlanta reports, Teamster officials will start counting votes tomorrow.
It has been almost 3 weeks since voting started on the new 5-year contract. Teamsters say that local unions have almost unanimously endorsed the tentative agreement, but it is up to members to have the final say. Yvette Avery is a union steward and delivery driver. She voted no.
Every contract can't get you every single thing that you want. I'm not being unrealistic, but we think based on the profit that the company made, they could take care of the part-timers properly, and they should have been awarded exactly what they deserve.
Union members have until tomorrow to vote, after which Teamster officials will deliver the final voting results. For NPR News, I'm Marlon Hyde in Atlanta.
Stocks closed mostly higher today, with the market firming up somewhat after what has been a 3-week losing streak. The Dow
7 p.m. session of Roanoke City Council for August the 21st is hereby called to order, and I'll ask our clerk, Miss Susan McCord, to please call the roll.
Okay. Ms. White Boyd? Here. Mr. Volleson?
Here.
Ms. Moon Reynolds will be absent. Ms. Sanchez Jones? Here. Mr. Pretty?
Here.
Vice Mayor Cobb?
Here.
And Mayor Lee.
Here, and a quorum is present. Our invocation tonight will be delivered by the Reverend Michael Cherry II, pastor of Altar Grove Baptist Church. And following the invocation, I will lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd ask you to stand, and I want to, before Pastor Cherry comes for our invocation, I'd like for you to join me in a moment of silence. One of our colleagues, Miss Stephanie Moon Reynolds' mother passed last Thursday, the 17th, Miss Picola Gilliam, and we'd like to have a moment of silence for her. Thank you. Pastor Cherry.
All right, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, before we ask you for anything, we just want to thank you for everything. Tonight, Lord, we simply thank you for the beautiful star city of Roanoke, Virginia. Specifically speaking, Lord, we thank you for Northeast Roanoke. We thank you for Northwest Roanoke. We thank you for Southwest Roanoke. Thank you for Southeast Roanoke. Lord, we thank you for every quadrant of this city. Lord, you've been with us through thick and thin, through the ups and the downs, through the hard times, through the good times, and we dare not take this moment for granted to say thank you. Lord, now that we're in this context, be in the midst of tonight's city council meeting, be with our city mayor, be with our vice mayor, be with every esteemed member of the city council, be with our city manager, be with everybody that is connected, that has important pieces to this puzzle that we call the government of Roanoke City. Lord, before we move on with this prayer, tomorrow is our first day of school, so we ask you that you be with us in our first day of school. Bless every teacher, bless every administrator, be with every staff member, be with every student, be with every parent and family, Lord. Let us have a successful school year. Be in the midst of tonight's meeting again. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let me welcome all of you tonight to our evening session. It looks like we generally have seats up front, but all the seats are filled there, so we got one or two spots open in there. But welcome, everybody. The first order of business is we need to come out of closed session, and I'm going to ask one of my colleagues to please bring a motion.
I move with respect to any closed meeting just concluded that each member of City Council in attendance certify to the best of his or her knowledge that 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in any motion by which any closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered by the members of council in attendance.
Second.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on that
Yes,
motion?
sir. Ms. White Boyd? Aye. Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Aye. Mr. Pretty?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cobb?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye. Thank you. All right. I hope everybody can get through. I want you to come down front. I want to ask Mr. Michael Clark, Director, and Jessica Babineau to come up, and we're going to make some presentations. All right, I'm going to call on, well, let me just tell you what we're doing. We're recognizing the 10 and under All-Star team and the 12 and under All-Star team, 11 and under All-Star team. And we're delighted to have them here tonight. Let me just give you a little information about them. In the late fall of 2022, the city's Youth Recreation Club baseball program began the affiliation process with Little League. And I tell you, you watch that on I think the World Series on TV. Some play some baseball. So that's great. Athletic program supervisor Jessica Babineau and works alongside Austin Calhoun and Austin Eels from the GSA Recreation Club to make this affiliation into Little League District 12 a reality. And this affords our youth more games, the opportunity to play against surrounding localities, which is a good thing, and the excitement of postseason play. As a Little League affiliate, leagues qualify for the All-Star postseason, and under the guidance of exceptional coaches like Austin Eels, Austin Calhoun, and Forrest Bletcher, our 10 and under All-Star team demonstrates the power of unity and collaboration as a team winning the title of District 12 champion. And I like those words. I like those words of unity and collaboration to win. And they were the first City of Roanoke team to accomplish this feat. That's special. And it is through their collective efforts, trust in one another, and unwavering support of the community that they achieved this remarkable victory. Thank you, guys. Also, I want to recognize the 11 and under All-Star team, which represented District 12 at the state tournament in Chesterfield, Virginia, July 13th through the 16th, in front of a crowd of approximately 250 spectators. Trailing by a score of 11-5 in the final inning of their game against Buchanan County, the team scored 6 runs to tie the score and force the game into extra innings. In the bottom of the 7th inning, Ramey Cummings delivered a 2-out single that scored Emmett G to give the team a historic victory that marked Roanoke City's first quarterfinal appearance in a Little League state tournament in city history. Well, we are Under the leadership of coaches Jamie Mather, Les Miller, and Brandon Agee, this team represented their city with honor, respect, and a confidence that showed their commitment to growing the sport of baseball in the Roanoke Valley. And we are incredibly proud of their accomplishments and the way they carried themselves as young men to the other communities statewide. That's something that we all should be very proud of. And I'm going now just turn this over to Mr. Michael Clark, our director, so he can have some words and recognize some people.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all very much for having us tonight. First, I want to thank all of the volunteers that are associated with Little League Baseball and our staff that we have with us tonight. This season, we made the commitment to go to Little League, and we put everything together, and it was a bit of a situation of flying the plane as we were building it. And we knew that we were going to hit some hurdles along the way, but to come out with a state tournament appearance and then a district championship exceeded all of our expectations. And we were so very happy for the coaches, parents, the young people affiliated with this. So the coaches would like to introduce each one of the kids. So I'll introduce Austin Eels.
That'd be great. Thank you. Thanks, Michael. We had a great group of kids, stuck together, practiced every day for 2 hours for almost a whole month. It's pretty impressive. So as I call them up, they can come on up. All right. Number 88, Alex Webb. Number 12, Aubrey Disney. Number 13, Ben Webb. Number 8, Blake Belcher. Number 1, Brooks Oliver. Number 31, Carter Coleman. Number 15, Cole Belcher. Number 9, Malin LaFawn. Number 11, Nathan Calhoun. Number 10, Sawyer Chitwood. Number 3, Tucker Eels. Number 44, Willie Nielsen. And number 4, Wyatt Eels.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Yeah, spread them out some. Come this way. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just slide it.
We'll make 2 rows.
Yeah, yeah.
Forrest Belcher.
Yeah, they have. Okay, so is that it for this team? Okay, I'm the official photographer. I just wanted to make sure we get everybody.
Get it in front of them. There you go.
And I'm going to give you a count of. Am I missing somebody?
The mayor.
The mayor. Mayor, I'm sorry. We're going to give you a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you. Congratulations, guys.
Hey, everybody. Thank you. Great job. Great job. Great job. Great job. Great job. And they got Roanoke on the back of the jerseys. That's great. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and now I'd like to introduce Jamie Mather, the coach for the 11U team.
Thank you, guys. This is my other coach, Les Miller. I tell you what, I don't know if it's possible to have a good heart attack, but when those boys won that game, I think that's exactly what we had. Super proud of them. They represented their city amazingly, to the point that we had other communities commenting on just the way they carried themselves and what they did. Gets me out in the field, you know? And they're so committed to baseball. We've still been practicing. We're playing in a tournament in Dublin on Sunday and keeping them together. So it's been cool. So let me introduce you to the guys. Now, first off, Emmett AJ is not here tonight, but Emmett AG, everybody. Next up, he drove in that winning hit, Remy Cummings. Something else that was great about being able to do All-Stars this year was it was the first time that we got to have a team from different quadrants. We got to have guys from Greater Southwest and Southeast and Williamson Road and Northwest and everything, which was great. So I'd like to say hi to Quan Evans. KJ. He picked up the win on the mound in that game. Remy Goldberg. We had 2 Remys. Next up, Caleb Hinchy. I don't think Caleb's here. Now we got Hammer and Haywood Jordan in the house. He might be Babe Ruth reincarnated. I'm not sure. Next up, Billy Menino. This one's got to deal with me at home too, my homeboy Lennon Mather. This one's got to deal with Coach Les. Jackson Miller. Benji Fawn. Archer Dunkenberger. And this guy right here, who, you know, this is a testament to how intense it can be when you're 11 and 12 years old. The first game of the tournament, when I pulled him off the mound to bring in a reliever, he said, "I am done pitching forever." And I said, "Cool. We need you on Monday, so get ready for that." Simon Whaley in the house. Thank you, everybody, for the support. Thank you to Michael and Milton and Jessica and everybody. And the 2 Austins, without them, none of this would have happened at all. They really drove something that I was hoping was going to happen for many years, but they made it a reality, so thank you guys.
Now, this is something that the TV people should be covering. This is positive stuff here.
They did, too. Shout out to them.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Mayor, would you like to get in the photo? All right, let's get, there we go. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you, guys.
Way to go. Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Good job. Great. All right. Let's give the recreation department another hand. I tell you what, let me give council an opportunity.
We lost them, they're leaving.
So you can speak, we'll talk about it. Speak to the camera.
No, I put down the bullet points. But
You're headed out west.
I'll know what you do before I will.
All right, council members, if you want to make any comments, you still can do that to our camera. We're still live, so anything you want to say about the accomplishments of our young Little Leaguers?
Well, Mayor, it's hard to hear, but I having heard that they just came together as teams and practiced over a month is phenomenal.
and the results that they had were extraordinary. So kudos to all the coaches, Parks and Rec, all the kids. Really represented our city well.
Mayor, there's nothing like seeing the word Roanoke up on the scoreboard, and especially with a W next to it. So I'm really proud of the kids, and I'm really grateful for the way that they represented our city in such a great way. So congratulations again.
All right. Well, I want you to know that I shared with our superintendent, Dr. White, that these are her future baseball players. Baseball. We're going to be watching the scoreboard. All right, Madam Clerk, that's all of the special recognition?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. We are now down to item 15, Madam Clerk, it's public hearings.
Yes.
All right. Item 15.1 is a request of the Roanoke City School Board and let me recognize this school board. Roanoke City School Board members, stand up. We're proud of you. All right. Thank you all for what you do. We have a request of the Roanoke City School Board to rezone a portion of property located at 3142 Preston Avenue Northwest, which is official tax map number 2100-501, 2100501, from IN, which is institutional district, to input, which is institutional plan development district, subject to the development plan. Chris Phillips is the agent and the spokesperson. All right, and there's one measure, it's an ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Second. Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
An ordinance to rezone the property located at 3142 Preston Avenue Northwest, official tax map number 2100501, from IN Institutional District to INPUD Institutional Plan Unit Development District, subject to the development plan that specifies uses, location of buildings and infrastructure, site access, and building design, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. It's noted that the City Planning Commission recommends approval 6-0 on this ordinance. At this time, I want to recognize Mr. Phillips. Are you here? All right, Chris. You can just make a statement, or you can respond to any questions that council may have.
Yes, sir, Mayor Lee. So I am not Chris Phillips. I am Jeff Shulver. So let me start at Chris's.
Oh, I thought you looked familiar there.
I'll start over, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Mayor Lee, respective council members, dedicated members of the City of Roanoke staff, esteemed leaders and teachers of Roanoke City Public Schools, the visionary design team, respective attendees within the City Council chambers, and those joining us through the virtual platform. Good evening to each one of you. For those of you who might not know me, I'm Jeff Shulver with Roanoke City Public Schools, Senior Director of Physical Plants. It is with a sense of enthusiasm and anticipation that I stand before you today as we embark on this exciting journey, the prospect of constructing a new elementary school. As discussed during our recent convocation, we gather not only to kindle the spirit of the upcoming academic year, preparing to welcome our students back tomorrow, but also collectively lay the foundation for a novel chapter in our education landscape. the forthcoming Preston Park Elementary School. It is with great enthusiasm let us continue our proceedings guided by this promise of progress and the shared commitment to our community, educational advancement. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. White, the Roanoke City Public Schools Superintendent, to join me at the podium.
All right, well, good evening. Good evening, Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor Cobb, and members of the City Council, and welcome to the 2023-2024 school year. You see, many of us have our tennis shoes on because we're ready to hit the ground running, as you heard at Convocation. So, as you know, and for those who don't know, on the screen, I'm Verlita White, Superintendent of Roanoke City Public Schools. And as you know, today our team is coming forward with a request for your support to rezone the Preston Park Elementary property. We also want to thank the Planning Commission for their recommendation for this proposal to move forward for your consideration. We believe that this plan is the most cost-effective and fiscally responsible plan due to the topography of the site. We also believe that this plan will be a community asset for decades to come. And we also believe that this plan is in alignment with the RCPS instructional standards, as well as the criteria that are important to the City of Roanoke, as represented in the city's 2040 plan. Most importantly, the design presented provides for the necessary natural surveillance, the lead time, and the distance from the street, which are vital to providing the safest school possible for our students, teachers, and school staff. Now, this plan is championed by our highly skilled and experienced teachers, staff, and Preston Park Elementary School community, as was heard during the Planning Commission meeting just last week. So in front of you is a packet that includes all the information that was presented to the Planning Commission. Today's presentation has been abbreviated to highlight the key points that we believe are essential for your consideration to, again, focus on safety and security, fiscal responsibility, and effective teaching and learning. And I've asked that all members of our presentation team to attend tonight's meeting, and I'm appreciative of their continued support, as well as the support of our school board and the Preston Park community. And I thank you as well for your consideration of our application. At the end of our presentation, we will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I will now ask our design team to come forward, and they'll introduce themselves as they come forward to discuss the what, why, and how of our application and the design principles that we believe are in line with the city's standards as well as with ours. So, thank you, and with that, I'll turn it over to the design team.
Mr. Spencer, should I go ahead and open the public hearing before we go forward?
Yet this is the applicant's presentation. After they finish their application, we'll open the public hearing and hear from members of the public.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. White. Good evening, Mayor Lee. Good evening, Vice Mayor Cobb and members of City Council. My name is Michael Masheri, project architect with RRMM Architects. My office is located a block and a half away from City Chambers here. I've been living in Roanoke for over 30 years. Lived in the Preston Park community off of Huntington Boulevard for nearly 10 years. My late nephew went to Preston Park Elementary School in kindergarten. So when this project arrived, it is very dear and important to me to serve the community of Roanoke. And I just want to say, so our value of our approach was received and voted yes by the Planning Commission unanimously, and we're proud of that. And one of the commissioners said the plan itself was conceived beautifully. I think it looks terrific, and I just want to share that positive note. And our vision for this project is most important for all of us. And we look forward to the steps ahead and working in collaboration with city staff, planning departments. I want to introduce to the team Matt Tomlinson. He's the civil engineer of record who's been spearheading the rezoning process. So welcome Matt Tomlinson up.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening, Mayor Lee, City Council. My name is Matt Tomlinson. I'm a Roanoke native. I've lived here over 35 years. And I'm also the senior project manager with Foresight Design Services, the civil engineering firm tasked with designing the new Preston Park Elementary School site. I've been a civil engineer for over 16 years, and in that time I've been doing K-12 design the entire time, including more than a dozen elementary schools, many of them right here in the greater Roanoke area. I feel I have a unique perspective on this project and motivation for doing well with it. I'm not only a design professional hired by the city schools to design the site, I'm also a parent of a future kindergartner. I live within the Preston Park Elementary School District, and I have a 4-year-old daughter, so I'm deeply invested in making sure that this is a successful project that we can all be proud of. So why are we here? As Dr. White so eloquently pointed out, we're here today to discuss the rezoning of the Preston Park Elementary School site from institutional to INPUD, or Institutional Planned Unit Development. Essentially, we're wanting to take the base IN district zoning standards, but modify some of the constraints of that zoning district to allow what we believe is a better overall design for this specific school site. Additionally, the site does not currently meet the existing IN zoning district standards for both parcel size and building setback. The maximum parcel size for the IN zoning district is 5 acres, and the current parcel size for Preston Park is over 13 acres. The maximum building setback in the IN zoning district is 40 feet, while the existing school building sits approximately 90 to 100 feet, which you can see in this picture here in the bottom right. Furthermore, as you'll see from this slide, the majority of the Roanoke City public school facilities are currently zoned INPUD, over 2/3. Of the remaining schools still zoned institutional, shown here in the left column, Preston Park is the outlier with a parcel size of over 13 acres, indicative of its suburban setting. The remaining schools average about 2 acres in size, as most of these schools exist in primarily urban environments. Here, you'll see an aerial image of Fallon Park Elementary School, which was recently renovated and showcases some of the design features that we tried to implement into the Preston Park Elementary School design, including a separate car and bus loop, which you'll see here's where the bus loop enters and here's the car loop. You'll also see a very prominent central promenade with sidewalks approaching the building and 2 playgrounds, and a deep building setback, which promotes the tenets of CPTED, or crime prevention through environmental design, one of the primary tenets we use for designing this site. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Joshua Johnson, the Youth Development Specialist with Roanoke City Public Schools and an expert in CPTED, to talk to you about CPTED and how our site utilizes those design principles.
Good evening. My name is Josh Johnson. I'm the Youth Development Intervention Coordinator for Roanoke City Public Schools. I bring 10 years of law enforcement experience to this role. I'm certified Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services as a crime prevention specialist and certified in CPTED. I've conducted numerous security assessments, including schools and the city's Noel C. Taylor Municipal Building here today. So CPTED is a widely recognized approach that emphasizes that the design and layout of space can greatly influence the behavior of individuals and potential offenders. By adhering to these CPTED principles, we can create an environment that reduces the risk of crime, the fear of crime, and enhances the overall safety of our educational facilities. So you'll see here, and you all have that in your packet as well, some of the main principles of CPTED. So the decision to move the school back in relation to the road is driven by many factors and provides many benefits. Having the school located further back from the lot, in the lot enhances natural surveillance. It allows for a clear line of sight for authorities, staff, and visitors to observe their surroundings. This visibility creates a deterrent effect and make it easier to identify potential safety hazards or suspicious activity. I used to also teach crisis planning and emergency preparedness, and with every assessment I would give the 3 R's, and that is recognize, report, and respond. So while natural surveillance is great, what we're really looking to create is time. Time for our staff and internal stakeholders to recognize a threat or emergency, report it, and for the appropriate personnel to respond to that emergency. So moving the school back gives us just that, time. So there's also some traffic and pedestrian safety benefits as well. So offsetting the school creates a safety buffer between the school and the roadway. Helps reduce the risk of accidents involving students versus vehicles, building in separate car rider lanes, as well as bus lanes. creates shorter distances and improves overall personal safety and minimizes the exposure of potential risks such as accidents, harassment, or unwanted contact. This will help prevent students from also unloading and loading in the public right-of-way, which is currently one of the issues we have now on the site. This new location also allows for the implementation of enhanced security measures. It provides a singular celebrated entrance, space for additional fencing, controlled entry points, and surveillance systems. So these security measures play a critical role in safeguarding our students and staff from potential threats and unauthorized intruders. And so many of our students also require specialized attention and support due to their unique educational and behavior needs. These instances pose significant safety risks not only to the students and staff themselves, but the broader community. So by enhancing the distance between the school and the road, we provide that staff with valuable additional response time when a student elopes. This extra time enables staff to recognize, report, and respond to these situations. So in conclusion, considering my extensive experience as a crime prevention specialist and police officer, I firmly believe that rezoning proposal and the placement of the school is the ideal approach to creating a safe and welcoming learning environment. The incorporation of CEPTED principles by our design team showcases a comprehensive understanding of crime prevention strategies and a commitment to the well-being of our students, staff, and the wider community. By supporting this proposal today, you are investing in the safety and future success of our students, families, and the Roanoke community. So I want to thank you for your thoughtful consideration in this matter.
Thank you, Josh. So this slide shows excerpts from the city's 2040 comprehensive plan. As you can see on the right is a map of the city of Roanoke, and the blue circle indicates the location of the Preston Park Elementary School site. The light tan color that you see indicates suburban neighborhoods. Per the city's definition, suburban neighborhoods are characterized by larger lots, a mixture of moderate to deep building setbacks, and parking typically provided on each lot. However, we do understand that the city's design principles dictate that we incorporate urban design principles into our design to encourage and facilitate walkability and bike riding, which I feel we have done, we'll outline shortly when discussing our design process. So now that we've outlined why we desire to rezone the site from institutional to input, I'd like to discuss our design process and how we arrived at our current concept plan. Here you'll see a slide showing the existing conditions at the current Preston Park Elementary School site. You have the existing school in the southeast corner, and you'll see we've highlighted the current queuing issues that are existing at the site. Some of the key design principles we try to adhere to when designing an elementary school site revolve around safety and site circulation. And as dad, these principles are even more important to me than ever before. When I first visited the site to assess the current circulation patterns, I noticed two cardinal sins that we usually try to avoid when we're doing school design. And those are having cars and buses intermingling in one drop-off loop, and also inadequate queuing space within the site, causing cars to back up into the right-of-way, in this case onto Winslow Avenue, up Winslow Avenue, and then also queuing back down Yardley Drive. This is a Preston Park Elementary School attendance zone map, which has the green line showing the sidewalks that are actually located within the attendance zone. And you'll notice on the right-hand side are last year's demographics for how kids got to and from school. Last year it was 400 bus riders, 120 car riders, and 4 walkers. However, we do understand that the city wants to encourage walkability and bike riding to try and improve those numbers. And as I'll elaborate further in a bit, I feel our proposed design has done that. So looking at this initial concept plan that we started with, here's what we did to tackle some of the design problems we felt the site had. First, we separated the parent drop-off and bus loops by creating a parent queue here and a separate bus loop here. To create a more manageable drop-off and pickup configuration, we also extended the queuing length of the car drop-off loop and the parent drop-off loop, or bus drop-off loop, to prevent backup onto Winslow Drive, clogging traffic and creating potential hazards for the neighborhood, pedestrians, parents, student, and staff. After meeting with city staff the first time, staff expressed concerns about the vehicle-centric nature of our proposed design. We understand, as I mentioned earlier, that the city wants to encourage alternative forms of transportation, such as biking and walking. So in order to address some of their concerns, we did modify our design, in which we reduced the number of parking spaces in front of the school, cutting the number of spaces almost in half and removing all of the bus parking. We also added a civic center piece, much like you saw in the Fallon Park picture, which included a more prominent sidewalk, playgrounds, benches, and the like. In addition, we added several more sidewalk connections to Preston Avenue and Winslow Drive for walkability. We tried to create a livable space on the south side of the site as well to create a harmonious synergy with Preston Park directly to the south by having the playfields on this side of the site. After receiving some additional comments from city staff regarding the revised concept plan, some additional concerns were raised regarding a large berm that was on the southeast corner of the site here, creating some topographic concerns that you also see on the southwest corner, as well as a desire for more sidewalk connections to the right-of-way for increased walkability. We made the additional modifications to our concept plan to both remove the large berm in the southeast corner by rotating the multi-purpose field, and also adding additional sidewalk connections to Winslow Avenue here. All told, I think we have roughly 1,500 linear feet of sidewalk on the site, as well as approximately 5,000 square feet of plaza area in the center. Beyond the safety and circulation aspects of the proposed site design, there are several other things that we tried to keep in mind for why we placed the building in its current placement and orientation, including created adequate separation from the future construction area and the existing school facility, which is shown in red here, avoiding impacting existing utilities, utilizing the natural topography of the site in order to minimize grading and save funds, as well as providing natural surveillance in front of the building, as Josh outlined. Designing for natural daylighting within the building and construction phasing were two other important aspects of our proposed design, which were factored in by Michael Masseri, the project's lead architect with RRM, who will elaborate on that now.
So the school itself, the proposed concept, is almost 90,000 square feet. So it's a challenge to place something of that magnitude onto a site with such limited capacity to do so. So one of the first things we have to look at is how do you do this from site logistics? And I just want to share this image with you because the red line is essentially the divide between existing operations, existing students, staff, visitors, being able to be at the school for approximately 2 years. We look at this as the safest and secure way of building a project of this scale on this site in the short term and in the long term. These areas in purple and orange, they are scaled to projects that we have identified over 10 years of what will it take with the amount of construction trailers and construction entrances and material laydown. It's a pretty sizable scale, so we want as least disruption as possible on this site while keeping kids safe and in this school at all times. So following this 20 to 21 months, it would turn over to the school opening and then moving forward into demo of the existing school and finishing out the ball fields. Now I just want to walk us through a video of this so you get a sense. I always urge all of us to think of things vertically. We live vertically instead of looking so much down at plans. So this will give you a sense of the building. So this is a look up Preston Avenue. So as we come up Preston Avenue, you start to see the building have a presence from the street. That is our new media center. We think there's some great architecture around the corner of Williamson Road Library, the new Breckenridge addition. We start to have the same type of vocabulary here. You know, long-lasting materials is brick, modest use of metal panel, glass. We start to see these areas of separating the bus from the communal semi-public spaces of these playgrounds that could be used during school hours, but also after hours, and be surveyed by the front of the school. Now, as we come back down Winslow, this is a key image I just want to see. There's still a clear identifiable main entrance there, and we feel that the concept has a great presence at this corner. So here's another view as we come back around. We are going to introduce some security fencing to protect from outside interference. Going to input will actually allow that increase to 8 feet, so you have that at the rear here. Classroom wings, it's important in the concept to provide for future build so that there's actually expandability at this part of the site. And then a look back here, we don't look at this parking lot as imposing. It is actually pushed to the northeast. It is limited in total number of parking. And then coming back, actually the bike lanes could be implemented right into the asphalt that we have there for the bus lane. It's almost 1,500 feet of linear feet of buses. And I just want to pause here to give you another view. So it is a unique site. We have great opportunities here. That's Reed Mountain. We plan to afford great view from this school out across the mountain range there. And then just pause in another view of this presence from the street corner. I want to highlight here in this image here, so all the colored lines there, that's existing utilities. This is the existing building. The exercise to move a building of this scale to this, regardless of the shape, we have major impacts to existing utilities, as you can see there. Also highlighted in red, we start to give you some numbers there from 1080 to 11. That's a 20-foot climb. It's actually quite deceiving, but it does climb up Preston Avenue. So keeping in mind, if we were to look at a full plan here, just highlighting some problematic areas of isolated ball fields to the north, a congested intersection, primary entrance with cars and buses. On the west, we would need a fire lane. There's some significant topography there, so that's significant added cost that we'd like to avoid to build in a fire lane that would be required. And then down here to the south, again, that red line is the street, so it does have a significant climb to it. So when we're talking about any type of structure close to the road, there's major impact to the earthwork, and we want to minimize that and avoid that at all costs if we can. So this is just an image to show you in yellow the impacts of some serious costs, whether it was 40 feet from the road or maybe even further. By pulling it back, we're actually able to efficiently balance the site and pull some of that earthwork back. Now I want to welcome our principal, Eric Fisher, to the mic, who's going to share his story on Preston Park.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening concerning the approval of the rezoning of Preston Park Elementary School. As was mentioned, I'm Eric Fisher, and I'm privileged to be the principal of Preston Park Elementary School, entering into my 15th year in this position and my 26th year with Roanoke City Public Schools. Preston Park means more to me than just where I work. It is where I went to elementary school. It is a big part of who I am. My staff, students, and community are a family, and I take my responsibility to protect them very seriously. For this reason, I would respectfully request for you to uphold the Planning Commission's unanimous decision to rezone our school as an input property. By rezoning our school as an input property, we are able to enhance my students' safety in several ways. Arrival and dismissal times are always busy times at any school. Both Preston Avenue and Winslow Avenue are busy roads where people often speed despite being near a school. Just this year, our resource officer chased down a driver going 50 miles per hour during arrival time. Can you imagine what could have happened if that car lost control and jumped the curb onto school property? Over the years, I have seen several students nearly get hit while trying to cross Preston Avenue. I saw a student's science project get knocked out of his hands as a car almost hit him. I saw a car door literally get ripped off as someone tried to get into the road. As city leaders, you have an incredible opportunity before you to mitigate an existing safety issue for our young citizens by approving the zoning of the school as an input property so that the students can arrive safely to their school without having to compete with nearby traffic. One of the things I love most about my school is its incredible diversity. We currently have students from 15 countries that speak 12 different languages. My staff does an incredible job of earning the trust of these students and their families. Our students are welcoming and quick to form friendships with their peers. But imagine the difficulty of being a young child and transitioning to a new country where the food, culture, customs, and even the language are different from what you are accustomed to. Now imagine making that change during a time of crisis. Many of our students have endured unspeakable horrors and trauma just to get to this country. Now imagine you are that child, and your parents have just dropped you off at school, and you are about to experience 7 hours without their reassuring presence. For some, this triggers an immediate fight or flight response. In my 14 years as the principal of Preston Park, my staff and I have chased numerous dysregulated students down before they get to these busy roads. In instances like this, a few feet and a few seconds can be a matter of life or death. If Preston were to remain as an IN property, our new school could be built even closer to the road than it currently is, and as a result, will shave precious seconds off our response time to handle situations like this, while greatly increasing the possibility of a tragedy that could be avoided. Allowing us to build the school as we have proposed by rezoning the property as an input property would increase student safety throughout the school day. As a principal, I undergo a significant amount of training in how to respond to crises, while always praying that the training will never need to be implemented. One of the key factors in any safety plan is a timely response, which in those instances, seconds matter. We have encountered custody issues that have manifested into domestic problems. These problems have found their way to our school, where we have had to intervene to ensure the safety of our students. In situations like these, seconds matter. The closer our school is to the road, the fewer precious seconds we have to protect the students. The closer our school is to the road, the easier it is for a child to even be abducted in a situation such as this. Threats to local businesses have impacted my school multiple times, causing us to enact hold and security measures while the perpetrators are being pursued. Being that the roads surrounding Preston Park are common cut-throughs between Williamson Road and Plantation Road, threats within the surrounding community can very quickly and easily bring the potential for harm dangerously close to the school. The closer our school is to the road, the greater the risk it is for our students to be caught as innocent bystanders in these types of situations. In situations like these, distance matters. You have the authority to buy my school additional seconds of response time and also feet of distance to keep the children safe by approving the rezoning of our school as input. We are a school that knows what we are doing as far as educating our students. In my 14 years as principal at Preston Park, we have been fully accredited every year. We have been recognized by the National Center for Urban School Transformation as a school that consistently defies the odds. We have received the Governor's Competence to Excellence Award. All that sounds great, but when it comes down to it, these recognitions are meaningless if we can't even keep our students safe. We are here to change our world by brightening the future for every student, every day. Our families look to us and trust us to protect their children. Whether our students have come from around the world, like half of them do, or whether they have lived in the neighborhood their whole lives, many of them have faced adversity that we can only imagine. Our school is their safe haven for these students, so we need to ensure that it is the safest possible environment that we can provide. Unfortunately, in today's world, we must think about the unthinkable. Our world has changed dramatically from when many of us attended elementary school. Sadly, we need to be positioned so that we have a clear perspective and a vantage point to see what is approaching us. If we are positioned closer to the road, by the time we see someone that may be intending to cause us harm, it is likely too late. We need every advantage and every second to prepare for what is coming at us. Once again, every foot and every second could be a matter of life or death, and giving us a more panoramic view of the campus by being positioned further from the road could save lives. All we're asking for is to give us a chance to protect ourselves and our students. I have hosted information sessions at my school for people to learn about our project. Parents are excited for the new school, but they repeatedly voiced the same concern over its new potential location if it were to be forced to remain as an IN property. Parents are greatly concerned about potentially placing the school closer to the road than it currently is, and they repeatedly voiced hope over our school property being rezoned as input. In closing, I ask you to please approve the rezoning of Preston Park as an input property. Over the course of this presentation, you have heard the many reasons why this will allow us to better ensure the safety of our students while building a school with resources that our community deserves. Our top priorities are the safety and education of our students. Thank you for considering these priorities when making this important decision. I would also like to recognize those members of our community who have offered their input and support for our proposal. Could those people please stand to be recognized?
Thank you, and I'd also like to thank the teachers and members of the community who came out the night before school starts. And Mayor Lee, members of City Council, that ends our presentation, and we'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Dr. White. We're going to open our public hearing now, and Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers signed to speak?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Call them as they signed up, please.
Okay. I'll call them 2 by 2. The first speaker is Mary Franny Appel, and following her will be April Small.
Greetings, Mayor Lee and City Council members. Thank you for having me. My name is Franny Appel, and I reside in the city of Roanoke. I stand here today as a community member, a former teacher with 17 years of experience, a current member of the Roanoke City School Board, and the mother of young children who currently attend Crystal Spring and Highland Park Elementary Schools. After listening to the entirety of the Planning Commission public hearing from August 14th, I must extend my gratitude. Government worked. You received presentations from experts and professionals on both sides of an issue. You also heard from key stakeholders from Preston Park Elementary School itself, and you listened. As a city resident, I can appreciate the goals outlined in the City Plan 2040. I can also appreciate the goal of RCPS to design a new school focused on maximizing learning and safety for decades to come while minimizing disruption to the education of Preston Park students in the immediate future. It may have seemed initially like the 2040 plan and CEPTED certified design were at odds with one another, but the Planning Commission recognized the gain for the entirety of the Preston Park community by deciding in favor of the rezoning. What is gained? A new, modern, state-of-the-art facility for the students of Preston Park, a safe and secure learning environment which sets educators and students up for success, multi-use space for the community, including 2 baseball fields, a new soccer field, 2 playgrounds to encourage the community to go outside, an improved impact on traffic, especially with respect to buses and student drop-off and pickup. I did note that Highland Park was referenced on more than one occasion during the hearing as a model for comparison to Preston Park. I have experienced firsthand drop-off and pickup at Highland Park Elementary School. I can assure you that if parents, administrators, SROs, crossing guards, neighborhood residents, and even students had the option of a bus loop, car rider line, and safe sidewalk access to the school's entrance, they would choose it in a heartbeat. While that may not be feasible with Highland Park, it is at Preston Park. And I thank you for recognizing the context within which Preston Park resides, despite the current zoning commonalities between the 2 schools. No one wants to compound the issues of learning loss from COVID, especially with respect to some of our most vulnerable students. Preston Park is currently over capacity, with over half of the student population designated second language learners. To be able to finally grant that community the new school it so desperately needs, which will also open the school up to offer pre-K classes without having to displace its 500 students for 2 years, is truly a blessing. I have been privileged to visit Preston Park a number of times within the past year. It is a tight-knit community with its students as its #1 priority. Thank you for doing what is just for these students, their families, and the thousands of students who will one day be proud to call themselves a Preston Park alum. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is April Small, and I'm starting my 10th year as a teacher at Preston Park. Since my current role at Preston is a reading specialist, and literacy is something I'm very passionate about, I would like to tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was an elementary school that functioned more like a family. The building wasn't big, but the hearts of all those who worked there were bigger than you could imagine. This little school was known by all in our community to be a place where children from all over the world came to learn and to grow. So much so that they started to completely run out of room. But nevertheless, despite the cramped conditions, the staff and students all managed to work together to ensure that all students felt valued, loved, and were able to succeed academically, emotionally, and socially, regardless of how much school experience they had, the language they spoke, or cultural beliefs and traditions they held. Some families moved across continents and sacrificed things we could only imagine so that their children could learn at this little neighborhood school, because it had a reputation of being safe and welcoming to all who walked through the doors. It's a beautiful picture of what can happen in our world when we look past our differences and we focus on what we can do when we all love one another and work together. But just like most stories, this neighborhood school has some obstacles to overcome. And so that is what brings us here tonight. You have a chance to help write the next chapter in our story. This chapter would include a brand new building for students to continue to learn and grow, but not just any building, one that is well thought out and focused on the needs of our students and families in the Preston Park community. A design that experts in safety and architecture have created so our students can have the learning environment that they deserve and could serve the community for years to come. Not only that, allowing our school to rezone our property would ensure that our school family will stay together in our existing building while the new school is being built. To some, it may be just a school, but to our students, it is their home, a safe place where they have developed lasting relationships with their peers and staff. Our community thrives on collective efficacy. This means we need one another, because we're a team. Our superintendent, Dr. White, stresses the importance of knowing our students both by name and by need, because that is how we will truly make an impact. So I ask you today, please partner with us. Please listen to those that truly know our students by name and by need. Help us move forward to complete this chapter in our school history. I truly believe that the best part of our story is yet to come. Thank you.
Jessica Blandy, John Odie.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Blandy. I'm standing before you as the president of the Roanoke City Council of PTAs and PTSAs. I'd first like to let you all know that I have personal history with Preston Park. That is where I did my student teaching. Currently teach in Roanoke City Schools, and although I'm no longer at Preston Park, they have always been a home to me. I couldn't have said it better than Miss April said it. It's a family there. I've had the privilege and the honor this summer of speaking to a lot of the parents at Preston Park, and I'm here to convey some of the things they said. As far as the walking, biking, bus riding, car riding, I think there are many of us parents who would love to see their kids walk to school, myself included, or bike. Unfortunately, there is a large majority of Preston Park students that live across Williamson Road. And even though the school times are designed to be around busy times, those parents indicated that they would not be comfortable walking their children themselves, or they do not always have the ability to walk or ride a bike. They don't always have parents that can walk them across busy roads. The Virginia Department of Education explicitly suggests that bus and car lines be separate for safety. This new plan, this beautiful school, it fulfills that, and it also is what the parents want. I've spoken to parents who have talked about how cars have flown past that, and how Roanoke City police officers are there. They are present, not only our resource officers, but the Roanoke City Police Department. But when you've got so many speeding, it's hard to catch everybody or be there at all times. Also, I'd like to come to you as a mother myself and a parent myself. There is nothing more valuable than a school saying, we can buy you time in a time of crisis. We don't like to build schools for the worst case scenario, but we do like to be prepared. There have been so many parents that I've talked to this summer that appreciate the work that Roanoke City Schools has given in this new building. This is what these kids deserve. This is a building that will bring in the community. It will increase our partnership with Roanoke Parks and Rec. It will provide years of playing fields, soccer fields, playgrounds, all with safety, built with safety principles in mind. I thank you for your time, and I encourage you to please support our plan, as this is the school that these kids deserve. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor Cobb, and members of City Council. My name is John Odie. I am the principal of Fallon Park Elementary School here in Roanoke City. I'm here to speak in favor of rezoning Preston Park property from IN to INPUD. I grew up playing at Preston Park, living just off of Oakland Boulevard, where my parents still reside. I would ride my bike there almost every weekend, climbing the trees that bordered Winslow. The building of a new Preston Park is an opportunity to mitigate safety issues while supporting civic use through thoughtful design. Fallon Park Elementary School is an example of construction with safety at the forefront. At Fallon Park, I have everything in front of me. My staff and I can see what is coming and react accordingly. The parking lot and prominent sidewalks direct you to the main entrance of the building. I do not need to split my staff for coverage at entry points in the front and the back of the building. I have a separate bus loop and car rider pickup line. This keeps traffic separated for arrival and dismissal, allowing for a safe, efficient process for all stakeholders. My playgrounds are situated at the front of my building, allowing for public use when school is not in session. My building is set back from the road, both 19th Street and Dale Avenue, providing a safety buffer. That buffer allows my staff and I more time to react to a safety issue and provide support for a student in need. Time. I've had students facing a mental health crisis elope from the safety of the school building. The time that the buffer provides gives my staff and I precious seconds to provide support for the student prior to them accessing public roads. I urge you to approve the rezoning of the Preston Park property from IN to INPUD to allow for a comprehensive school design that will benefit all stakeholders through safe, thoughtful design. Thank you.
Tom Carr, Todd Mendelowitz.
My name is Tom Carr. I live at 428 Keppelwood Road Southeast in Roanoke. I've worked for 35 years as a city planner. The last 5 years as Director of Planning, Building, and Development for the City of Roanoke. I also served for 5 years as a public school teacher and have at least 10 years' experience as a youth athletics coach. I also participated in the development of City Plan 2040. Equity is the first principle in the comprehensive plan, but what that means is in the eyes of the citizens. The teachers who are at Preston Park every day say this is a school that they need, and it is context sensitive given designs of Breckenridge Middle School, the Preston Park Recreation Center, and the newer schools in our system. If the city ever decides to replace the Preston Park Recreation Center across the street, it will be able to choose the optimal location on the site for the school, since there is no maximum setback applied to the recreation open space zoning that applies to the city property. A major goal of City Plan 2040 is a community where people can walk and bike safely in their neighborhoods. The RCPS plan is based on everyone riding and busing to school in vehicles, due in large part to the safety issues of the streets. But traffic really isn't kept away from the school. It is simply diverted up to the school by the queuing lanes that the architect and engineer described. Traffic will be very close to the school, within 25 feet at the cafeteria. Regardless of the location of the school, it will never be walkable unless the surrounding streets are made safe for walking and biking, including crossing Williamson Road. Those safe streets are your responsibility, not the school's. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. My requests to you are that you listen to the teachers as to the location of the school and the need to improve safety on the streets. That our CPS and the city work together with the community to make Preston Park walkable by engineering safer streets, educating and encouraging students and parents to walk and bike safely, and enforcing traffic regulations. Finally, I would ask that you apply Section 36.2-540's paragraph G of the zoning ordinance and incorporate the many enhancements that the architect and engineer showed to you into the planned unit development plan amendment, and that you add the raised crosswalks at the drives that the Transportation Department has recommended. Thank you.
Good evening. Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor Cobb, and
City Council. My name is Todd Mendelowitz. I've been a resident of Roanoke City for 26 years and now have started my 27th year teaching for Roanoke City Public Schools. All 27 years have been at Preston Park, teaching kindergartners and first graders. Over those years, I've seen many attempts to solve overcrowding issues at Preston. Additions, trailers, classrooms in the gym, cafeteria, and hallways. One thing has remained consistent. Many families in our attendance zone have felt disenfranchised. The overcrowding, the poverty, the everyday inequities. These families have felt marginalized, and many have felt silent. I'm here tonight to speak for them. This has nothing to do with race, immigration, or any other culture war distraction. It's about opportunity. You have an amazing opportunity here tonight to help this community. You have an opportunity to give final approval for a new, beautiful, safe Preston Park School. You have an opportunity to give this community a school it not only needs, but is entitled to. Elementary schools are the foundation of lifelong learning and a critical element in revitalization. Give this community a foundation it can build on, and then watch us exceed every expectation. I speak for my Preston family. We ask for final approval so we can move forward on what was presented here tonight and give this community the school it deserves. Thank you.
Kim Craddock, Rick Arrington.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name's Kim Craddock, and I've been teaching at Preston Park Elementary School for 32 years. I've been teaching in Roanoke City for 37 years. I'm here today to voice my concerns about the possibility of keeping our school zoned as institutional, therefore building the school within 20 feet of Preston Avenue. My main concern is for the safety of our students. Elementary-age students frequently have a hard time dealing with difficult situations and tend to run from the building. Over the years, I've had to chase after students that have run into the front lawn, parking lot, or away from the playgrounds. I feel that if the school is built further back on our property and away from the road, it will give us more time to react and get to the students before they run into the road or cross the street and prevent a child being hit by a car. I'm also concerned that the parents will be dropping their children off on Preston Avenue during arrival and dismissal times. This is a very busy road, and people frequently speed when driving on Preston Avenue. If the front of the school was located off the busy street, parents could drop their children off in the car rider line without the fear of oncoming traffic, and students would not need to cross a busy street to get into the building. The proposed building location is designed to deter criminal activity by having a complete view of anyone approaching the school and will give more time to make necessary decisions if needed. If the school is located only 20 feet from the road, this would not be possible and is very important with the amount of school shootings and intrusions that are happening in K-12 schools presently. Another concern I have is with the disruption to students and their families during the construction of a new school. If the decision is made to build closer to Preston Avenue, there's a possibility that our students will be displaced for over 2 years. Preston Park takes pride in the amount of progress our school makes each year, especially with our diverse population. I feel that our students and families will have a more difficult time if they are bused to other schools throughout the city, and we could better serve them by continuing instruction at the current site. I hope that you will consider these safety concerns when making your decision and vote to approve our request. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rick Arrington. I am a private consultant, security consultant. I had worked at Roanoke City Police Department, retiring from there. Then I worked for another 13 and a half years as the subject matter expert for the Commonwealth of Virginia at the Department of Criminal Justice Services. regarding SEPTED and crime prevention. I've been teaching and providing consultant services since that time. I have to say that initially I was contacted by the architect firm and the design team and asked to look at the plan that they had submitted and to review it for safety concerns and tell them what I thought about the site design and placement of the building. And looking at it, I can now say without doubt they have created the safest opportunity that they can on the provided space. One of the things we look at in SEPTED, other than what Mr. Johnson had already explained, is what we call second generation SEPTED. Second generation SEPTED is based on a 4C concept, one of which is social cohesion, working within the neighborhood. In other words, to involve the neighborhood interactively on the site. Another is capacity and not overbuilding. And of course, the other two are cultural, community culture, and also, excuse me, my mind went blank for a moment, connectivity. Connectivity is important because each of these buildings, and this site in particular, is not just an asset for the school system, but it's an asset for the community. And in the afternoon hours and in the evening hours, the community will be using that space. By placing the building further back and the parking where it's proposed in the plan, you provide more observation of the parking where loitering may be possible for illicit purposes. Also, the community will be the natural guardians of that site. If you place the building too close to the end of the property line, then you also create a problem with the layered approach, which we try to do in security measures. We want multiple layers, which, as some of these folks have already said, create reaction time, which is critical in the response to any attack at a school. The history of school attacks shows that one of the most important things we can do is act quickly. And I would support this proposal that has been put forward as one of the safest designs that you could ask for. Thank you.
That was the last speaker on this matter.
Thank you. All right, we're going to close the public hearing, and I will ask my colleagues if they have any thoughts or comments.
Mayor, if we could recognize Ms. Sanchez-Jones to read a statement, please.
No, well, just a moment. We'll get back to you. Ms. Sanchez-Jones?
I, Vivian Sanchez-Jones, state that I have a personal interest in agenda item 15.1 regarding Roanoke City School Board rezoning at 3142 Preston Avenue Northwest, because I am a Roanoke City Public School employee. Therefore, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3112, I must refrain from participation in this matter. I ask that the city clerk accept this statement and ask it that it be made part of the minutes of this meeting.
All right, who was that stood up and said something? Did you sign up?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to let you come around and speak. You got 3 minutes now.
Hello, my name is Leslie Cadd. I have grown up in Preston Park. I feel that the school needs to be moved back and not closer to the road for many safety reasons. People speed up and down the road
If we move closer to the road, this can lead to a lot of dangerous things happening, like someone getting hit or crashing into the school. When I'm playing at recess, I see people walking through the playground, and it makes me feel nervous. I feel this way because they might get at me when I turn around. Another reason I don't want the school to be built next to the road, I will have to go to another school while they're building the new one. And if built in the back, we can still go there. This being my last year at Preston Park, I want to be with my friends in our school. Also, if we do move schools, I might be in more of a target to be bullied for wearing my brace. This is my first year wearing my brace. Having my friends with me, they will protect me from getting bullied. Also, if we do move schools, we might be in an even worse neighborhood than we already are in. I would be more scared to go to school. The new school will give us more room to learn. It has been difficult for me in my gifted class because I had to be in the hall and cafeteria because the school is overcrowded, so there's not enough room. In closing, I'd like to say that that safety is important. That's why the school should be moved back to the back and not closer to the road, so we can focus on the main thing, learning.
All right. Thank you all that have came forward to speak. I'm going to close the public hearing now and ask my colleagues if they have any questions or comments. I'll see Mr. Boston's hands first.
First, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming out and speaking to us this evening. It's great to hear from the community, especially about such an important project like this. I think that all of us here on the dais have a lot to think about. One of the things that I think drives this need to put the school in a different location is to make sure that kids are staying at Preston Park. When I was younger, here in Roanoke, Woodrow Wilson needed to be renovated, and so I was sent to another middle school for a year. That may not seem like a long time, but when you're a kid and you're not able to interact with other kids that are in your school that are 7th and 8th graders, it leads to a disconnect when you do come back together the next year. There's a whole relearning process. So I'm pretty sure you know where my vote is going to be tonight. But I just wanted to say thank you for the thoughtful way that y'all have come about with this decision of where to put the school. And thank you for coming out and speaking for it.
All right. Let me go to Vice Mayor, and then I'll come back.
Well, thank you all for coming tonight. It's so inspiring to hear not only how the design came to be, but why it's important. It reminds us of how connected we all are and how sustaining those connections is absolutely critical, whatever age we are. I have been in Preston Park School, and I can say without any argument that everywhere you go in Preston Park is a learning corner, niche, center. It's everywhere. And that is because everyone who is there takes education and learning very seriously, and they just make space for it. So that's very exciting. I know that we spent a lot of time tonight talking about safety, but I would love to hear for just a few minutes, Principal Fisher, whomever you would invite. Can you tell us a little bit about how this will benefit the students' educational growth and health growth?
If we were to build the school as we have proposed, we can focus on simply education, not as much on safety. Currently where we are located, we have to keep safety more in the frame of our mind. Of course, we're always going to be thinking about safety, but if we're closer to the road, we also have to be aware of what's coming more directly behind us. Of course, there are cameras around the school. We have 16 cameras in my office, 16 monitors in my office, as well as the assistant principal's office, that we're monitoring throughout the day, as well as moving around. But We have had vandalism at the school. Just a few years ago, our playground was nearly burned down. A big portion of it was, and it was hidden behind the school. So if we have the playgrounds in front of the school like is being proposed, our neighbors can help monitor that for us. It actually happened over winter break, so it was a very cold night, and in the middle of the night, under the cover of darkness, people stuck in and set the playground on fire. We have had several issues with people, as Leslie stated, trying to walk across the playground. So when that happens, we get called out and we have to address that. Keeping them in the front of the school, we have a clear vantage point of what is out there, what is it that we have to face. So we're not always having to go around the back corners like we currently do. Currently, we're walking inside and outside the school constantly, walking the grounds. We constantly find things on the playground which are not appropriate for children to have. So we're constantly having to clean that up and keep tabs on everything. But if it's further in front of the school where the neighbors can help us monitor and protect their investment as taxpayers, that's something that would take more pride in. So having this new school will certainly give us more space, get students out of the hallways, get teachers out of the hallways. Everybody gets the room they deserve, and we can focus on the learning itself.
Oh, let me ask it a little different.
Okay.
Okay. Can you talk about how the larger space, the dynamics of the space, the natural light are going to benefit the learning experience?
Sure, of
so
course.
Don't talk about safety
Okay.
right now. I know
All
that's
right,
your priority.
okay.
What are these new classrooms, the new media center, all of the new things that are going to be available? How are those going to enhance the learning experience for not only the students, but the teaching experience for the teachers?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so for example, currently at the Preston Park that we're currently working in, we have 4 ELL teachers working out of one very small room. With the new plan, we have 4 separate rooms spread throughout the building where they can provide services for their students. But keep in mind that nearly 250 of our students receive ELL supports to some extent. So you can imagine you can't fit 250 students at a time in that one little room. So that's why they're often working in the hallways, working in the classrooms, working in the cafeteria, and in the gym, wherever they could find. But with this, we would have actual dedicated rooms for them. The same with our special education students. We currently have 3 special education teachers working out of one very small room. This will allow them to have their own room that they can use as resource pullout if necessary. And of course, the majority of the time they spend in the classrooms with the students providing support as needed, but they do need room to pull out and work with students as necessary. Currently, that's done in one very small room, but mostly it's done in the hallways. So you can imagine perhaps a 5-year-old student with special needs trying to learn to read when they're working with a reading specialist or a special education teacher or an ELL teacher, and the distractibility that they're trying to face, it's a lot to overcome as a child, let alone an adult. So that it will certainly enhance the education. As you mentioned, the lighting. I've learned a lot through this process of how the lighting can be harvested. It's called daylight harvesting, if I remember correctly, where at this particular angle, the angle of the sunlight can be brought into the school and can be bent and refracted and reflected, and so that it can reduce the use of fluorescent lighting, which, as we all know, is not conducive to learning, headaches, things such as that. So being able to put it in the further away from the road allows us to utilize the angles. If we were to bring it closer to the road as an IN property, we do not have that opportunity. It has to stay as it is, and we will not be able to harvest the daylight optimally as we would by moving it back.
So it's going to enhance the not only a safe environment, but I would dare say a healing environment for children who may be experiencing trauma.
It certainly would, yes.
To be able to more effectively practice trauma-informed care.
Very much so, yes.
It's going to reduce, hopefully, some of those students who run.
Right.
For a variety of reasons. And it's going to allow all of you to take a lot more deep breaths.
Correct, yes.
Every day.
Yes, as you've seen, at Preston Park, we're a very tight-knit group because we have to be. There's nowhere else to go. So you can imagine a student who is, like we mentioned, dysregulated, when they're in that fight or flight mode and they are not thinking rationally and they're running down hallways which are packed with children and adults. I've seen them run into people coming around the corners, and then we're looking at injuries. as they're running outside. We mentioned the safety factor and how that's something to keep in mind. But yes, giving us the space to actually work with those students in a closer manner to give them the counseling that they may need. Currently, we have day treatment providers who are working in the hallways with students who are dysregulated and the cafeteria. So once again, that's really not conducive to learning and counseling students as needed.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. I appreciate it. I just had two other thoughts. I love the playing fields, the playgrounds, all of that. I think you all have made additional provisions for bicycle lanes and sidewalks. I think it's absolutely critical that whatever infrastructure we do in the city enhances this and makes the whole neighborhood better. I think this is impetus for us to continue to take seriously the safety concerns of crossing Williamson Road, because I would love to see more kids and families feel comfortable sending their kids to walk or ride. It was kind of staggering to me that only 4 walked to school. That's pretty staggering for a neighborhood school. But I understand the realities of that. So I hope that some of the recommendations that Mr. Carr made, I thought those were really insightful, particularly about sidewalk infrastructure, the elevated sidewalks, making sure we address safety crosswalk concerns on Williamson Road or any intersections where we need to make sure we have safe crosswalks. And then if, to the degree that it's possible, and still aligns with the safety concerns for the campus, I would love to see additional trees around the playing fields where that's feasible. I see that a lot of them are in the design placed around the campus, but to the degree that we can add more of those, I think that would be a real gift to the beauty of the campus, as well as adding more tree canopy to that. So thank you all so much for giving your time tonight.
All right, Mr. Pretty.
I just have short comments. Similar to what Councilman Volson spoke about earlier, I understand that he had to go to a different school. But when I was in elementary school, I had to spend at least one whole grade in a trailer. And I can tell you that learning from a trailer, when it's hot outside, it's hot, and when it's cold, it's cold. You can hear all of the school construction the entire time that you're in there anyways. It makes it very difficult to learn, and I'll admit publicly, that is where I got my first F in 2nd grade. So I really hope that no one has to go through that process. I'm happy that this design has been put together in a way that allows for students to stay in their school and transition to the new one. I'm very happy with the amount of full life that's involved and the amount that it will be back from the road as much as possible. I grew up in the county and went to Hidden Valley Middle School, Hidden Valley High School, and those are a full, at least half mile from the road. You'd have to run for 10 minutes in order to get there. Although they did provide the time to finish up spelling homework. If you got there and you realized that you were late, I'm not sure that this will be long enough, but this is a wonderful plan. I don't believe I've heard any opposition that I've gotten by email. We have other exciting topics tonight to deal with where that may come up, but thank you for bringing this forward and look forward to voting on it.
All right, we're finally ready to vote. Madam Clerk.
What? Yeah, just get.
Well, I had one quick comment, Mayor.
All right.
But let's vote. I've got to say something. All these folks came out in support of this, and I want to say thank you. And really, I just wanted to and I told the mayor I would be brief, but just the fact that you all were so patient. I actually came over on Friday and I actually rode my bike, and I'm so glad you're doing the bike lane. Remember, we talked about that. That was kind of scary, crossing Williamson Road, but I am glad that we're finally getting there, because you did, Mr. Fisher, take the time to show me throughout, because I missed the first tour. I was out of town, but you did take time, you and your assistant principal, to show me all of the nooks and crannies. And, I'm just surprised that we never heard a big complaint. You guys just did what you had to do,
and made it work. And so I'm glad we're in a good place now, and I'm glad you're going to have the sidewalks and the bike lanes. I think that would be great, because I really enjoyed the ride, but it would be good to encourage that. So thank you for your patience, and I'm glad we're in a good place. And Mayor, we can call for the question.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, you call the roll, please.
All right. Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Mr. Pretty?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cobb?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the ordinance passes.
And your Honor,
With 5 votes, it will not need to come back for a second reading.
All right, thank you all. Thank you all for coming tonight. We're going to take a 5-minute recess.